Okay. Okay. Welcome to Tea Time with Rock. We have Dr. Sarshar here today with the Realm of Caring. So we're so excited to have you here.
Thank you so much, Jennifer, for having me. I'm so happy to be here. I'm Shabnam. I'm originally from Iran, and basically, well, what I do at the moment, like in terms of work and research, is the intersection between cannabinoid-based therapy and women health. So, like my background has always been traditional herbal medicine. I studied that in Iran, and then I did my PhD in Germany. Like it's a beautiful, wonderful world of ethnopharmacology and medicinal plants, and cannabis is really kind of, I don't want to say mastering the game, but kind of she does. So yeah.
It's awesome. Like what inspired you to like bridge these like the botanical wisdom with modern pharmaceutical science and then your heritage with the herbal healing, like the family history? Like what was that made you go into that?
So it was partially my interest, partially what the universe put in front of you. So that was both together. You know, in Iran, that when you go visit your grandma, almost always in their home, they have a cabinet full of dried herbs. It has also very, very special, like lovely smell. And every time that we had something, a stomach ache, I don't know, throat ache, whatever, my grandma has some remedy for that. And she is not even like she never attended school, but she knows this like herbal knowledge, and like she used it perfectly. Even sometimes that we had like severe like a stomach ache for days and it couldn't get any better with normal medication, she had something for that. So yeah, that was basically my initial interest, this smell, this kind of like apothecary art of like putting the stuffs together. And then like when I went to university, I always wanted to study pharmacology, but then I ended up to studying applied chemistry for my bachelor, and for my master, I thought, yeah, okay, now I can use all of this like applied chemistry and medical chemistry that I understood and put it like more into like plant chemistry, phytochemistry, and traditional herbal medicine. And that was where these, like I told you, all universe and like self-interest, they both emerged, that I start to like basically researching and studying traditional herbal medicine.
That's amazing. That's so cool that you have that background of like when you were a kid and your grandma was like, all right, this cabinet, this one. And you're like, yes, ma'am.
Yes. And you know, that's the thing in Iran, like we have these like modern pharmacies, like how do you call it, standardized, finished, market authorized drugs. And we also have like some apothecaries, or if you will, like herbal shops that you go in and it's like a stocked with different kind of like dried herbs and extract and stuff like that. So the herbalist that is there basically make you a personalized medicine with these herbs, and like that's like so beautiful, so beautiful. Yeah.
That's so cool. I love that. I'm gonna pick your brain a little bit later about that one.
Sure.
Okay, so our next question would be like, so your dual background in pharmaceutical biology and business, did this shape your approach to women's health innovation?
So, you know, the story that I started my MBA was a bit like peculiar story. I was working in a pharma company and I was desperately wanted to go to the business development department. I was like in research and development. I wanted to go to business development because I had this feeling, and back in time, like the idea that I really wanted to push through was cannabinoid-based medicine. And then I really wanted to push myself through the business development department, try to understand how to bring like new application forms, new drugs, and collaborations, all what like business development offer. And then I got this like answer that no, you are not educated on business. And then I decided, yeah, okay, fair enough. I'm not educated. I'm going to do that because I want to learn. And that was one of my best decisions to do that. You know, that is also one of the advices that I give to everyone. Like if you're coming from a science background and you have never because you know some people are like intrinsically that they have like this business mind and they understand the business world. Some people like me not like And that is what an MBA course like help you. You really understand how the business world is working. What is like all of these smaller stuff that I hadn't the slightest idea how difficult that is. And I'm not telling you that like getting an MBA make you suddenly a business person. No, but it gives you some hints. It gives you tool to use your science background better, you know, and that is something that I always say, okay, if you have the opportunity, please do that, because MBA is not only to be a good manager or to be an entrepreneur, it's also good for your like personal skills. It helps you like personally for your character and stuff. Like, it's amazing. Like I enjoyed it so much.
Yeah, no, I love it. I love it. Education always transforms different parts of your brain and it just like lights it up.
Yes,
Definitely.
yes.
It makes you think outside the box and you know, school is great. School is stressful, but you know, you learn a lot from it though.
Exactly. And you know, it gives you all these like new um, innovations, new way of like managing, new way of innovation. And you know, if you are just in the like science part, you always think creating a new solution, creating a new drug, creating it, that's the easiest part. It's not true. That's like vice versa. You think, okay, that's it. When I have a breakthrough idea, when I have a breakthrough product, that's it. It's gonna sell for itself. But it's not like when you have this beautiful product, marketing and sales is another creature for itself, and it's much harder. And it needs completely different skill sets. Like the quality of the product or the goodness of the product not always speak for itself. So like you need these both words to collide for have a successful like business. Yeah. Yeah.
Amazing. Yeah. And it's so cool how you're able to like your background now you shaped it into like, you know, your focus into like women's health and stuff like that. And I find that fascinating. I loved everything that you've posted on LinkedIn and all your social media posts. I was like, it's amazing. I see like you're very passionate about women's health. And so like based off of like, you know, extensive research and you've talked to many women in the past, like what do you feel like is like the gap you've seen in between like women's healthcare and stuff like that?
I believe the biggest gap, it's yeah, of course we can always blame the research, which is for good reason blame the research, because to be honest, like since decades we really didn't focus on a woman's biology. We didn't really design drugs for woman physiology, biology, and all of these hormonal changes. That is one part of it, that there is a lack in science and clinical trials. And I remember, if I remember, I cannot remember the date of it correctly, but it was, I think in 70s probably, that FDA banned the inclusion of a woman in reproductive ages in clinical trials. And that was already like for many years we were excluded. And it does a lot of harm because like woman metabolism, physiology, biology, hormonal changes, all of that is very dynamic, is very vibrant, and it's changed how do we react to different like drugs. That is one part of it. And the other part is that we also wasn't like very much curious to go and read and understand. I am so happy that I'm seeing in the last years there are a lot of like educational material, a lot of interest about menstruating years, menopause, premenopause years. And like we can learn and read a lot. But for example, I didn't know a slightest thing about like my period, the hormonal changes in my menstrual cycle up until I was 28 years old, you know? So that is something that I'm so happy to see young mothers are like showing and teaching the younger generation, the daughters. And I hope that that continues, because that part is very important, to know and understand our body, to understand that we are dynamic in nature, and to like accept that and kind of try to work with that and optimize it to our own, like our mind and our body's benefits, you know? Yeah.
That's amazing. I love that. And we're gonna kind of see if we can add a little bit of like some of your research that you did on cannabis and then women's health and how what do you think has been showed the most like successful thing or promise that you've seen so far in your research?
So, what is like super interesting about cannabis plant? Like plants in general, they feed us, they put clothes on us, they shelter us, they do a bunch of amazing stuff so that they make us happy. They do a bunch of good stuff for us, but most importantly, they teach us. I think we gonna be ever so grateful to cannabis plant because of her. I always refer cannabis plant as her. So because of her, we understand that there is a new system in our body, endocannabinoid system, like a mycelium running throughout the whole body from brain to all the organs and like immune cells everywhere, like a major regulator that's like it is essential for our body homeostasis, and it's involved in almost all the bodily processes like eat, sleep, pain, protection, and like memory formation. And this endocannabinoid system only has been discovered because of the natural compounds in cannabis plants. And now we know that this endocannabinoid system basically is omnipresent in woman reproductive organ and has played a major role in pregnancy, in menstrual cycle, and so on and so forth. And that's why, and this system is modulating pain, modulating inflammation, and that's why cannabinoid-based therapy and cannabinoid-based medicine can be very helpful for many women conditions, because when you look at different illnesses and diseases, you see, especially when it's come to chronic pain, when it's come to inflammation, woman incidence is disproportionately higher. That's why I always say like cannabinoid-based medicine and endocannabinoid system can have a huge impact of pushing women health in a very good, beneficial, and potential direction. Let's put it that way. Yes.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I really love that. And especially you speaking the endocannabinoid system and saying that about the CB1 and the CB2 receptors and stuff like that. That's amazing because sometimes when you do talk to some, doctors right now, they don't really know what the endocannabinoid system is, quite frankly, yet. But, and so, on this note, we're going to be breaking the taboo. And so you're committed to breaking the taboo and the stigma behind it too, as well. Like, making cannabis like mainstream again and not having this big fear underlining it. It's like, what are some things that you feel like are misconceptions or stigma you encounter based off of like women's health and cannabis and stuff like that?
So, like, first of all, I really want to highlight what you just said. Yes, we need the endocannabinoid system education to be in the medical book as the nervous system, as the respiratory system, as the cardiovascular system. That is an underlying system in our body. So I hope that in the near future, actually, we see that like incorporated in medical school, like curriculums. And about the taboo, like, cannabis and women health has very similarities, and they also like emerge kind of like parallelly. Both of them has been suppressed a lot, like women health and woman pleasure and cannabis, like the use of cannabis. And there is a huge propaganda behind it, because most of the time the decision that are being made in a state level, it mostly politically charged, not scientifically charged. And cannabis was let's say, I don't want to say a victim, but kind of a victim of one of those processes. And, it was a lot of misconceptions and misinformation about cannabis use. Of course, like I'm not telling all good about cannabis plants and cannabis consumption. Of course, it can also has its risk. That's why harm reduction is very important. So it's like our informed decision, dosing, real understanding of our body and the medication that we are using. That is the golden standard. Okay, and like when it comes to like taboos, still many women are reluctant to use cannabinoid-based medications. Even with CBD, I a lot got this question that, yeah, okay, if I use like this CBD balm for pain, do I get addicted? Do I get high? I have a kid at home. For women, still it's, and also like I heard from many, many moms, like both parents are like basically consuming cannabis. And in the school, other moms get a very kind of misjudge her a lot because, oh, you are a mom on cannabis, how dare that? Oh, yeah. A lot, a lot. There's a long way to go, but I'm happy that it's getting better and better and better because just there was a super nice study actually out of US that in 2023, amount of young women using cannabinoid-based product or cannabis-based products surpass young men. So that is something to look into and be happy about because that stigma, that pattern is breaking. Yes.
No, it's amazing. Amazing to hear that. The stigma behind it. So we had a book club in the past and it was like Brave New Weed. And it talks about like the stigma behind cannabis. And it happened because of racism, actually. And so after that, the propaganda was started and then the stigma behind it, like it's like, oh, like, you grow up and it's like, oh, I don't ever want to do this. And then you grow up, you learn about it, and you're like, actually, like this isn't as bad as people portray it to seem. It's actually really beneficial. Like if you're someone that's stressed out, someone that can't sleep and stuff like that, anxiety, X, Y, and Z, finding the right dosage for you because every person is very different. Just works for this person, not going to work for this person. So it's like you have to like that's why at our organization at Realm of Caring, we start low and go slow and we help people with like dosaging and information and stuff like that and completely free of charge. And so our organization was started from moms that wanted to try CBD for their kids that have multiple seizures. And so it was like really cool how it was founded and how we've been open for like 13 years, just helping advocate and educate. So I love how, you have your background and it really connects well, especially for the women's health, because I feel like that's been a topic that we've been talking a lot about here. And it was just so excited to hear so much about your stories and stuff like that. And so where do you see like the cannabis research in women's health heading in the next 5 to 10 years, like based off of what you have right now?
Oh, that's a very interesting question. I'm very positive because we see that actually all we have on direct effect of cannabinoids on a woman's body and a woman's, it's like very recent. It's all is for like 5 years ago. And many interesting like topics are popping out. Now we see that we can actually correlate many of the women diseases and symptoms with this balance in the endocannabinoid system. That's why cannabinoid-based product help women. That is one area which I find fascinating. The other thing is that all this interconnection and by directional communication between our hormones and endocannabinoid system and how that impacts basically the subjective and objective effect of the cannabinoid dosage that we are getting, like all of that is very interesting. And I think in like the next, and lots of ongoing clinical trials for menopause, for sleep, for endometriosis, like for vulvodynia, all of different amazing new upcoming clinical studies, different application forms. I think in the next 5 to 10 years, we're going to see major breakthrough with cannabinoid-based product for women health. Like, let it be the normal extract and tinctures and capsules that we know, or a little bit more advanced applications like vaginal suppositories or like patches and stuff like that. And I also believe that it's also going to be an adjacent, let's say, well-being tool for perimenopause journey, because we see that many perimenopausal women actually over around like 80% of them recommend using cannabinoids
Yeah.
for ease the journey. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's amazing. Yeah, like we have seen that women's health, like most women that we've talked to, or and there's others too as well, the suppositories they really do enjoy because it's just like it goes straight to the source versus like going through their digestive system. And it's like a little bit quicker, and then like you don't get that like head high. It's more of like the body high that they feel. And that tends to be a little bit some clients do like that, but it's totally at each person's preference for sure.
Absolutely. That's actually vaginal suppositories is also one of my favorites application forms generally for women.
It's like I think the tinctures Those are like best used in like the morning or something like that, having it twice. It's a little bit more holistic, not as many sugars. The gummies are great. They're already pre-measured and stuff like that, but you do have the sugars and dyes in there no matter what. But it's always depending on your preference. And then like the lotion, it's always nice because it's the epidermis layer of your skin, so it's not going to penetrate super deep in there yet. But with repeated like usage, eventually it'll like sink in very lightly.
Very lightly. There are also new formulation for rheumatism patients, rheuma patients, that they have like a enhanced formulation. So this formulation make the drug delivery and drug absorption through the skin like better. And the rheumatism patients, they really happy and satisfied with topical applications. So like again, as this industry, as the science around cannabinoids is evolving, also like application forms and like finding out which delivery system gonna fit best for which like symptom, it's like evolving with that.
Yeah, definitely. And it's like, I feel like it's really cool because, getting those period cramps are not the favorites. Having that relief as a woman is so beneficial because it's like, I think back then having period cramps was just like the norm. It's like, oh, that's normal. But it's like now and to this day, it's like, actually, that isn't normal. You shouldn't be having severe pain where you can't move. It's like, I feel like
Exactly.
I feel like talking about women's health and not being afraid to talk about it is something that, that's what this space is about. Definitely talking about things that not aren't normally talked about. And so I guess like my last question would be if someone were to come to you and an example hypothetical and they say that they have really bad period cramps, what would you suggest to them or what would you have them look at?
Okay, so first of all, I have to like make a disclaimer that I'm not a physician. What I can only say, like, it's basically holistic advice, and like each woman should, before they introducing a new like supplements and medications, that they should like again informed decision. They should like consult with their physicians, but like having heavy period cramps and pain, it's almost always a signal that something is wrong. And that's most of the cases, what is wrong is the high amount of inflammation in the body. High amount of inflammation, like could be because of like a hormonal disbalance, could be because of like endometriosis, fibrosis, like severe period cramp can have like 100 different reasons, and these reasons, they shouldn't be ignored. Actually, severe pain is your body asking for your attention because something is wrong. It's not normal. Okay. So what I like, definitely the root cause of the period cramp should be find out. Unfortunate is that sometimes finding the root cause take years. In case of endometriosis, it could take like 7 years for a proper diagnosis. So like to basically ease this time to get a proper diagnosis and treatment, what women can do, first of all, tracking menstrual cycle is absolutely important. Really understand if your symptoms are more estrogen sensitive or progesterone sensitive. Because if estrogen sensitive is different than progesterone sensitive, and for both of that, you might need different herbs. For example, if you are sensitive to progesterone and your basically your symptom gets worse in the time of your period that progesterone is high, which is like mid-luteal phase, maybe taking some herbs like peppermint and some like herbs that basically push progesterone is not the best herb for you. So that is very important. Track your period and understand when in your menstrual cycle your symptoms get more heavy. Like, because almost always we are talking about inflammation, it's very important to be on a very good anti-inflammatory diet in the second half of your period, like after ovulation, basically. What can do a lot of good. It's like almost like a, how do you call it, water on fire, is
To prevent.
turmeric products. Exactly, it's turmeric products because they are very good anti-inflammatory, like black pepper because of the beta-caryophyllene. And like, of course, if woman wants to try cannabinoid product, I always suggest that I start with CBD. So all of that should be very, very informed. You have to like have a very good point of contact with your healthcare provider to check everything. But that the most important is like tracking and understanding when my symptoms get worse and if they are like hormone related, and based on that try to come up with a nutrition and supplement plan, because prevention is almost always better than treatment. And we very much underestimate the power of food and power of nutrition, because nutrition are basically our medicine. Like having a good supply of omega-3 oil, you will be amazed that after a couple of months, how does it change your mental and physical health?
Yeah.
And how we know that all of these like fatty acids like omega-3 and omega-6 in a good ratio, they are the building blocks of the endocannabinoids. And there was a study who showed that like good quality omega-3 oils basically mimic the effect of a CBD in long term. So all of that, like that is what I would
Yeah.
start with.
And I love that. That's amazing. It's like we gotta track our cycles. We gotta try some turmeric and pepper or black pepper, right?
Right?
Because it
Yes.
activates it. And then if they do try some CBD, try like a low dosing one, and then we'll just like go from there, depending on your body and the ratio. And so those are really good key tips. It was like I hope people can take away from that. And it's just like, like you have so much knowledge to share, and it's so excited to have you here. And this would be, I think, the last question that we have. What advice would you give to young women scientists interested in pharmaceutical research or women's health advocacy? Like if you were to go back in time and talk to somebody like that.
I mean, we are see a lot of like good initiatives, good like scientists, good research that is happening in this field. But because there was some decade of like not really good like attention and research to this field, I really want to like basically pursue them or ask them to look deeper into all the hormonal changes in woman body and how that hormonal changes translate to metabolism and other other biological processes in woman life, like also when it comes to perimenopause, because I believe that menstruating years, all of these hormonal up and downs, at least has a cyclic reliable pattern. You know where you stand. But in perimenopause year, unfortunately, that's not true. We know that the hormones are declining, but they are declining in a very, very unpredictable fashion, is like that. And sometimes the amount of like estrogen that you experience in your perimenopause year could be 20 times more than you ever had in your reproductive ages. And it makes it so hard for designing therapies and designing solution for perimenopause and menopause transition. And that is the like parts which we should put a little bit more attention into to decode all of that. At the end, it's gonna go toward very, very personalized and dynamic solutions for perimenopause years.
Yeah, definitely. Like especially the perimenopause years when they have the hot flashes and they're just having trouble sleeping, and trying to help them out with different kinds of cannabinoids like CBN or CBD, and then, different dosaging because, like you mentioned, like their hormones are fluctuating. It could be maybe one week could be a little higher and then next week might be a little bit lower because just,
Absolutely. And that's why exactly in those years you have to be very attentive and very kind to yourself, because maybe the like medication or the like dosage or the mixture that you bought last week don't have the same effect in 3 weeks. So it's not your problem. It's not the problem of the product. It's just like you are like recalibrating the whole time. So just be kind to yourself. Listen to it. When it doesn't work, then pivot. It's okay. It's okay.
yeah. And I love that. You gotta pivot every time. It's like your body is like literally speaking to you when something's happening, your body's always like telling you a little signal. And so sometimes like taking a little breath and like seeing where your body's at is always like such a nice thing to do, because sometimes you're so chaotic that you're like, okay, I'll go to doctors eventually, eventually, eventually. But also finding the right doctor for you as well is someone that wants to listen and advocate for you because sometimes you might go to the doctors and they might just be like, "Oh, you're fine." And it's like,
Exactly, exactly. That's why I'm telling that especially in perimenopause years, you are your golden standard because only you knows what's going on in your body. And we don't have a like a measure. If I come to you and I say, okay, my discomfort level is 9 from 10. Maybe if you were in my body, for you was like 3 or 4. Each we have different mindset, different physiology, different like sensitivity to pain and stress and so on. And that's why you can never tell to a person, oh, the symptoms that you are having, like it's normal, because we don't know how much that person is like, that we don't know the level of discomfort.
exactly. Yes, exactly. And it's like, so it's like sometimes going out there being your own advocate, it's like saying like, oh, I think I should really X, Y, and Z and really be your own advocate because sometimes you kind of have to be. And if that person isn't willing to listen, always go to someone else that who will listen to you.
And then the thing is that, yeah, of course, like, again, of course, like the medical system is a rigid system that one size fits all. They always have like these dosages, boxes, and one molecule for one target. We see that it's not answering all the questions because our body is so complex. And it's nothing wrong to be experimental. It's nothing wrong to be experimental. That's actually our right to have a healthy and happy body. So that when we accept that and like go for it, because we only got to live in this body for once. And of course we have to take care of it. And of course we have to be an advocate. And like again, there is nothing wrong being experimental to come to a degree that you feel good and safe and you feel comfort in your body.
Yeah, that's what we want. It's like homeostasis. We want everyone to have that equal balance in their life. And I hope with this new research and more research that you put out in the future and, advocacy, getting rid of the taboo, and it's like being able to say, let's try a cannabinoid therapy and not have that stigma behind it. It's like this is the normal, guys. Like, so, but thank you so much, Doctor.
Sure, sure.
And we really appreciate you coming on here today, speaking to us and letting us know some words of wisdom from you and your background and your knowledge that you've had to share plenty. And it was awesome to hear. And I can't wait for everyone else to hear about your story.
Very, very kind of you. Thank you so, so much.